Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Right Guys podcast, where we watch colleges turn into terrorist training camps. And now your hosts, Josh Hammerling and Max McGuire.
Woo! Welcome back. Right Guys podcast. Happy Wednesday. My name is Max McGuire here with Mr. Producer Josh Hammerling. Happy days. I'm going to call them what they were, at least what they were here in Texas, riots. The riots. And
Gosh.
I there was one thing that they were chanting over and over and over again, at least in UT Austin here in Texas.
Yeah.
There's no riot here. Why are you in riot gear? No, as in terms of chants, not bad.
Not bad.
Not bad.
It sounds like something collegiate.
Yeah. So under Texas law, a riot. Wait, did I just lose it? I just lost it. Let me just do Control F.
So how do they define riot?
A riot, basically, there's a couple different ways it can be a riot.
Yeah.
So a riot means an assemblage of 7 or more persons, which just met the definition of. If it creates an immediate danger of damage to property or injury to persons, I think based on what you were seeing happening on these quads, tearing up the grounds, especially what they were doing in Colombia, throwing tables and chairs around, it meets that definition, at least in Texas.
Yeah.
Substantially
Sure.
obstructs law enforcement or other governmental functions or services. That's where I think it pretty easily is, especially in a place like Texas where UT Austin is a public school. You read this and you say other governmental functions or services. It's a finals week at a public university.
Yeah.
You have people writing into their professors by email saying that they're not coming to class because they're too afraid that they're going to be attacked, afraid to have to walk through. You could say that has substantially obstructed law enforcement or other governmental functions or services. And then by force, threat, or force, or physical action deprives any person of a legal right or disturbs any person in the enjoyment of a legal right. So when you hear these protesters chanting from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, what they are talking about is going from the Jordan River and pushing the Jews out of Israel into the Mediterranean Sea where they can just go somewhere else. So literally talking about genocide.
Yeah.
So when you are chanting, we want something that amounts to genocide. You're violating, we went through this on the podcast before, Title IX rights, the rights of people to be free from discrimination on the basis of their ethno-religious identity. At least in Texas, it met all 3 definitions of a riot, and it only has to meet one of the definitions.
Mm-hmm. So I wonder if they prevented campus police from doing their jobs, right? Like, if you had 7 people that did that, then boom, it counts, right? What else do we throw in the mix? I mean, it obviously was a riot. There was a ton of people that were just looking to disturb normal students going to school. And for what I'm starting to figure out is that how many of these people were students versus just jackasses off the street? I mean, it makes you wonder with all those green tints showing up and how they're all purchased probably from the same place, from the same manufacturer. There's somebody, behind the scenes, just pulling a couple strings, dropping a few things out. Like, who orders $1,500 worth of food and groceries for some of these places?
Oh, yeah.
And then they just show up with delivery. It's like,
yeah.
So not only was it riot, they're planning on staying for that riot. So what do we call it a riot that lasts, right? I mean, because they plan on going until probably the end of the semester.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. What really made me laugh is when you see every tent that's there is the exact same. It's all the same color, all the same build. It's like, it's very obvious that someone went to Academy Sports or REI and just bought a dozen of the same exact tent.
Yeah.
Right. So then you start wondering, okay, well, how much money got dumped there? You start seeing the signs and they all have the same messaging, all the same color schemes. You start looking at what Soros linked organizations are involved in this, which is really crazy. To think that George Soros is behind this,
Still
but
in the mix.
It is. And some of the funniest video, I don't have the video here, but someone was bringing Coca-Cola into one of the encampments, and a conservative pretended to be one of these leftists and said, "Comrade, don't you know that Coca-Cola is a Zionist company?" and actually got the guy to turn around. So that to me is very funny.
Isn't it crazy that college students can't agree on anything, but man, they all
Yeah.
pick the same tent
Yes. Yes.
or the same food? I mean, come
Yeah.
on, give me a break. It's
And
just crap.
what you mentioned was, yes, there were people in the crowds who were not students. And
Sure.
like here at UT Austin, I believe last time I looked, most of the people who were arrested were not students.
Interesting.
Which was interesting. The local district attorney at first tossed out all of the charges, basically saying that the police didn't do a good enough job establishing probable cause in the arrest records. So then the police went back and really went through it with a fine-tooth comb and laid out everything, all of the evidence, right, so that they couldn't be tossed on that technicality. But still, the DAs in Austin are complaining that it's gumming up the works. It's gumming up the court system. Well, yeah, that'll happen when you have a riot. It'll gum up the court system. But just so you know, that's what the police are dealing with. They're dealing with district attorneys, prosecutors, who would rather negotiate to end a protest than actually prosecute the people responsible for the rioting. But here in Columbia, one of the reasons that the mayor of New York, Adams, said that he gave the green light to clear the grounds at Columbia was that NYPD produced video showing a professional protest consultant.
So yeah, what's her face? No,
Lisa Fithian.
That's who it is.
Lisa Fithian. Let's click the link. Oh, this is just the press conference. Yeah, Lisa Fithian. They might have a picture here of her.
I had a good one before. Yeah, she's a pro. I mean, she is. Her whole job is to teach people how to be agitators, right? How to resist. You know, it used to be peacefully, but man, if you look at some of her records, she said some pretty salacious things about how to protest, and it kind of blows my mind.
If this was her now, then it would be okay. That person's a college student, but that's not a recent picture. This is what she looks like now. So whether you believe that she is a protest consultant or not, very clearly not a college student when she's been doing this for decades. Another thing that came out of all of this is that there was actually someone in attendance who was married to a college professor who was deported on terrorism charges.
You gotta be kidding me! I didn't know
that. So here at Columbia, Nahla, who is the wife of Sami al-Arian. Now, Sami al-Arian used to be a professor. It's actually a really complicated story. He's a Kuwaiti-born activist professor.
Interesting.
And he was like pro-Bush. After 9/11, he said a lot of things that were really just terrible stuff, which started getting him under some scrutiny. He was indicted in 2003 on 17 counts under the Patriot Act, but the jury ended up coming back deadlocked. So he struck this deal to just say, okay, I'll plead guilty to one of them and you just let me out of the country. And that's what ended up happening. But he wasn't actually convicted of it. He struck the deal just to make it all go away and leave. Doesn't mean that he wasn't guilty, but it's a little bit different than saying they charged him 17 times and he was convicted on all 17 counts. He was under house arrest for a while because he didn't want to testify. That was the weird part. It was like, okay, I admit to being involved in terrorism. Let me leave. The government said, no, we want you to testify in this other case. He said no. So then they kept him in the country, which is weird. Weird to keep a terrorist in the country. So lots of technicalities around this, but nonetheless, he was technically deported after pleading guilty to a terrorism charge, and his wife is sitting there at the Columbia University protest.
No coincidence.
Kathy, you can't ignore that. You can't ignore that.
No, and how many times have we seen there being people demonstrating somewhere and there being ties to terrorism, being ties to, Antifa, not Antifa, but Islamic nationalists somewhere. It's no surprise it's happening. Terrorists are coming in over the border, and we're shocked that one of their wives might be at one of these events, right? It's like this thing was they wanted it to get bigger.
Yes.
Right. It doesn't feel like they got big enough for them because I feel like they wanted this to pour out in the streets, right? They wanted this to pour out into the public spaces. It didn't, because most people just have 9 to 5 jobs, right? They're ready to
Yeah.
actually, be positive Americans, earn a living, get the American dream, and it didn't happen.
Or they were hoping
Or
for a Kent State situation
yeah,
where this
yeah, yeah,
protests, people
yeah,
start getting killed, and
yeah,
all of a sudden, then the rest of the country looks at, whoa, we don't
yeah,
we don't agree with them, but we can't be killing them. That's what they
yeah.
were a lot of times hoping for. I think. I
Yeah,
think they
I
were
agree
actually
with that
hoping for
statement.
that.
Yeah, because it gives your movement more teeth, right?
Yeah.
It gets to say, "Ha ha! Look at here. This is what happened," and that didn't pop off, quote unquote. I'm
Yeah.
glad nobody did anything that would cause such a thing. But this is the first one. What happens with the next one, right? This is the first one to go away. Is this going to
Yeah.
have a seasonality to it? After
Well, school's
finals,
out.
is it going to stop again?
School's
Yeah,
out.
yeah,
There was a really funny thing because
yeah,
my wife loves these things. Like
yeah,
when these things start clacking off, she's got it on the TV while she's working.
yeah.
She's doing split screens. She's finding streamers who are showing 5 of them at once. She loves it.
It's great.
And I'm listening in, and as I'm working, and I'm hearing one rioter in Texas saying, "We will stay here as long as necessary," and I'm just like, "Oh, come on." Next week it's going to be 110.
Yeah,
we're days away from sweltering 110-degree heat. Your meal plan's going to expire.
I know.
Right?
What's he gonna do? Hang out?
Your dorm room's going to lock you out because the term is over.
Yeah.
You're going to have no access to running water, showers, no food.
Oh,
and it's going to be 110 degrees with like 80% humidity.
See, this is why stuff doesn't happen in Texas, right?
But you're like, let's be honest. You've got a very short window to affect this change. This is an Occupy Wall Street where you're going to be out here for months, right? It's far easier to bundle up in the cold than it is to keep cool when it's 110 degrees outside and super duper humid. So we knew that the timing of this, like, let's do it right at graduation, right at finals.
Yeah.
Which is, without a doubt, the most selfish thing you can do, especially for this generation of students. The students graduating, remember, the students graduating this year didn't have high school graduations because of COVID. So they were been graduating 2020. So they didn't get to have a high school graduation. Now you look at places like University of Southern California that's already canceled graduation ceremonies. Other schools saying they're canceling graduation, scaling back senior week as a result of this. Now this is the second time that this has had their graduation taken from them by radical leftists.
Woo! Imagine
that's a campaign ad. That's a campaign ad for sure.
And have you also seen how the media has gone out of their way to make sure that this doesn't get linked to liberals or the Democrats? I mean, they are going out of their way, even though this is born and bred, like in the DNC dark rooms, right? They're salivating at these prospects. They want them to happen, and nothing from the media, for the most part, starts covering. I mean, all the 24 hours are on it, but how many positive spins are they putting on people rioting? Right? How many positive spins are they putting on people, stealing part of your education away? Because what happens if you don't complete your finals because you're Jewish and you couldn't make it in?
Yeah.
Right? And I have to come back for another year. If I was that person, is that what you're telling me? I have to come back because these people displaced me. Right?
They're trying to spin it and say that it wasn't the protests, the riots that made people too afraid. It was the police presence, and they're too afraid of police. That's how they're trying to turn it on.
Dude.
That's how they're trying to turn it on conservatives. But we talked about this on a podcast last week. The reason that you're not seeing the Democrats and the mainstream media kind of swoop in and make this a huge deal, other than like conservative media covering it and local media covering it, is because for a large part, the protesters and the counter protesters are under the same political movement. Like, there are exceptions, but the Jewish students in New York, many of them are Democrats, right? Democrats like to say that we are the party for the Jewish people. Come with us. Trump's a white supremacist, white nationalist. You can't go there. So how can a party take advantage of a protest pitting two different parts of their coalition against one another? It's a really hard thing to do. It's a really hard thing to do, especially when you have people. Well, let me put this on the screen first. This is polling from Frank Luntz, who I can't stand Frank Luntz. He did just have a stroke, so I hope he gets better. But this is the polling that he has on how the support for Israel versus Hamas breaks down by age group. Overall, Americans 80% favor Israel over Hamas. Hamas, the terrorist organization, the ruling party in the Gaza Strip. At 65 plus, it's 93% to 7. No contest. But you can see as you get younger, more and more people support Hamas. That's not saying that they support the right for Palestinians to have a state. They support Hamas, the ones firing rockets into Israel. And you see, once you get to 18 to 24, it's narrowly pro-Israel, but only by a little bit, 57-43. So we have a big problem on our hands. I think in our lifetime, Democrat Party turns anti-Israel. I think it really does happen. We talked about the outside agitators. Josh, the students weren't much better.
No,
the students weren't much better.
They're being propped up by some of these guys.
Yeah,
I mean,
I want to show you.
Great.
Haimani James. Haimani James. He was, I don't know if he still is, the spokesperson for the pro-Palestinian encampment as a member of the Columbia University Apartheid Divest, CUAD, which is the student group in charge of this. Here is a video that he recorded in the past that was kind of dug up.
Along with all white supremacists need to not exist because they actively kill and harm vulnerable people. They stop the world from progressing. Oh, okay. Thank you. What? Thank you. And so be glad, be grateful that I'm not just going out and murdering Zionists. I've never murdered anyone in my life, and I hope to keep it that way.
I mean, there's so many red flags here. Where shall we start? Like the Department of Homeland Security might pay attention to somebody saying those things if they were a little different.
Be grateful that he's not going out and just murdering people on the basis of their political opinions.
It never crossed my mind to do that. I don't think it crosses most people's minds, but I'll be grateful. Thank you so much for not going out and being a genocide murderer. Thank you.
He's never murdered anyone in his life, and he hopes to keep it that way. But
hope isn't a strategy.
Yeah, like you say, I would never murder anyone. Like you, me, we talked about this. Josh, would you ever murder anyone?
No, God, no, man. I have a hard enough time to see bullies. I mean, I treasure life far too much. Doesn't mean I won't protect myself.
Yeah, that's a different thing. But to proactively, aggressively, actively murder someone who's doing nothing wrong to you, that's a no. So if you're raised right, you have a good set of morals, you have a good set of principles behind you, you have a strong faith. Even not in faith, you can be an atheist and understand you can't just go around killing people.
Yeah.
This guy, if you say, I hope I don't murder people, you should be grateful I'm not. That's the kind of guy that needs to be institutionalized.
But it's free speech, Max, and it is not only is it free speech, it's also the groupthink that is inside these liberal circles, right? This is pervasive on that side. This isn't a one-off. This isn't unique. This guy's parroting something he's been taught or learned, right? Because if he had been there on October 7th, do you think he would feel the same way? And the reason we see that big disparity in those ages on people who support Israel is most of those people 65 plus know somebody that was in the Holocaust, right? We're just a generation or two away from everything crumbling. And here we are about 2 generations away from the Holocaust, 3-ish. And nobody realizes the horrors that has happened to the Jews.
So
and here it is repeating itself.
He has free speech rights, right?
Yeah.
He obviously does. It gets a little bit more complicated because he's the spokesperson of an organization organizing and engaging in what meets the definition of a riot.
Riot, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So then you start saying, okay, well, is this speech actionable, right? Because that's really the ultimate question. So what if he said it? Is it possible that he could actually do this? Is it possible he could actually go about and do this, or is he just talking, right?
Yeah.
So you look at the Supreme Court case law on this. You look at Brandenburg v. Ohio, right? And where you cross the line between free speech and criminal speech is if it's directed at inciting or producing imminent lawless action and is likely to produce or incite imminent lawless action. So then you start asking, okay, well, he's saying this. And he said this clip was from a little bit while back. But this is the stuff he's saying, right? As the spokesperson of an organization engaging in an act that meets the definitions, generally, of a riot. If he's saying you should all be lucky we're not murdering Jews, and then you see the way that Jewish students are being manhandled on that campus in particular, blocked from going to class, pushed, shoved, you have a legitimate question of whether that speech can truly be classified as free speech, or whether you can look at it as the potential for an imminent call for lawless action.
Yeah. I mean, it's when you hear, I've heard people chanting death to America, death to Israel in some of these areas. Is that actionable? Are there people that would go out there and act on that? And I think the answer is they have, but they haven't done it here yet in a way that causes anybody to pay attention yet.
No.
And there might be a blind eye being turned to this, right? Especially, there's plenty of blind eyes being turned into this action. So, I don't know. I mean, it's a tight line that he's walking there. But so, even if he was, would anybody do anything?
No. That guy has since apologized, saying he misspoke.
Oh. What's good?
How do you miss? This is not a misspeak. Like, come on. He didn't misspeak.
I accidentally said the word Zionist in it.
Be grateful I am not going out and murdering all the Zionists. He said, I am frustrated that words I said in an Instagram live video have become a distraction from the movement for Palestinian liberation. I misspoke in the heat of the moment, for which I apologize. He didn't misspeak in the heat of the moment. He was driven by the heat of the moment to say that.
He was doing like an information thought dump onto the internet. Heat of the moment means there's a ton of stuff going on around you. You said it just to say it, but this guy thought it through. You know, he had the plan.
Yeah.
How is that? And it's disingenuous, right? As soon as he gets pegged for it, oh, I'm so sorry, I misspoke. How many times have we heard that from the left? Right?
Yes. He is saying that he is only being targeted now because he is visibly queer and black. I'll tell you, that had nothing to do with me pulling up that clip. You want to know what caused me to pull up that clip? Was him saying we should be grateful he's not out there murdering all the Zionists. Yeah. How visibly queer someone is has nothing to do with it.
No.
Nothing to do with it. He's not being targeted and harassed by racists and homophobes. He's being targeted by people who find it entirely objectionable for anyone to hold that belief.
And what's crazy is when you look at that paragraph, he claimed the clip was edited without context.
Yeah, that's the context.
What context is missing?
That's the context. You should be lucky I'm not killing people.
It feels like he's one step. Is he claiming he's just been one step away from wanting to harm people? I don't know this guy's intentions. Right? In all the training I do, if somebody's going to tell you that they want to hurt you, you believe them.
Yeah.
So you avoid them, right? And if they start getting too close and they tell you they're going to kill you, believe them. Is that the case here? Right? Does he still feel that way? I know he apologized for it.
He apologized for it.
Well, he apologized. He didn't apologize for what he said. He apologized for distracting away from
He said what he said was wrong.
Did
but
he
he also
that?
says he was misquoted, which you can't have it both ways.
Like
can't have it both ways.
Obviously, if he wasn't a coward, he would stick by what he said. But he's not going to, because he knows, and he may realize what he said actually is actionable talk. Maybe it is a real threat.
He's also going to probably learn, school year's almost over, he's going to learn how many companies out there have HR departments, executives, and employees who find that kind of comment objectionable and don't want to work with someone like that.
They will look your ass up when before you even interview, right? He may not even get hints at getting a job somewhere because of talk like this. And I don't think I'd want it. I have too many Jewish friends that, are actually genuinely afraid to put their kids in college right now because of this, because of that kind of talk. And it's been brewing just for I don't know how long, Max. I mean, if you wanted the perfect video and a perfect campaign to convince Jewish people to jump parties, all you have to do is turn on the news right now. That's all you've got to do, right? This could be the biggest recruitment for Jews to the Republican Party that I've ever seen. Yeah. And it's not because, the Republican Party is open. It does want to let everybody that it comes in, as long as you pretty much stick with those conservative values. Yeah. So why do we think that the Dems are still the party of Jews and
it's good. It has to change. It has to change.
It can't survive this.
So that's the organizer, who is obviously a Jew hater, just a violent person. Whether it's anti-Semitism, Judaism, kick that out of it. Anyone among us who says we should all count our lucky stars that he's not out murdering people, that's someone who doesn't belong in any society whatsoever. As if we should be thanking him for not being a mass murderer. There's also this other girl who is a Columbia University student. I want to get the name right. I believe her name is Johanna King Slutsky. And she is a Columbia University student who decided that she was going to give a press conference. And, Josh, I know people who are rabidly pro-Palestine, who can articulate their positions well, who can explain why they believe that universities and companies should divest, and they can lull you almost into a sense of oh, that makes sense, until you realize that the core of their movement is that other guy that we just played a video of. This woman, I believe her name Johanna King Slutsky, is not one of those people. She decided to give a press conference, and she crumbled. She crumbled under the questioning. That is the Daily Mail headline. Columbia University student crumbles under questioning, accusing the school of blocking their access to food and water. Here's the clip.
Would the university be obligated to provide food to people who've taken over a building?
Well, first of all, we're saying that they're obligated to provide food to students who pay for a meal plan here.
But you mentioned that there was a request that food and water be brought in, unless I misunderstood.
To allow it to be brought in. I guess it's ultimately a question of what kind of community and obligation Columbia feels it has to its students. Do you want students to die of dehydration and starvation or get severely ill, even if they disagree with you? If the answer is no, then you should allow basic, it's crazy to say because we're on an Ivy League campus, but this is basic humanitarian aid we're asking for. Could people please have a glass of water?
But they did put themselves in that very deliberately, in that situation and in that position. So it seems like you're sort of saying, we want to be revolutionaries, we want to take over this building, now would you please bring us food and water?
Nobody's asking them to bring anything. We're asking them to not violently stop us from bringing in basic humanitarian aid.
They're stopping the delivery of food?
We are looking for a commitment from them that they will not stop it violently.
But they haven't stopped it yet.
I don't know to what extent it has been attempted, but we're looking for a commitment.
Crumbles.
The look on her face, because she was just expecting the people interviewing her to just take her side, right?
Yeah,
that's what she was waiting for. And when they just brought up basic questions about water being, so first off, what's basic humanitarian aid? Then there was that other part. If anybody's here that's on a food plan, they should be brought food and water.
Yeah.
So every other student who has to go to the meal hall to get their food, should also be able to have the food delivered to their room, right? That's essentially what they're asking for.
Dining
right?
halls are open.
Yeah.
I have confirmed that campus dining is open. The John Jay Dining Hall is open. The Fact Shack is open. JJ's Place is open. These dining halls are open, and they will remain open. A couple of them have closed today, but there are ones open. So,
revolution, but we really need to eat and drink because we love our comfortable lives.
Now,
what a joke.
Here's where she would be right. If they were in this building and the university said, okay, turn off the water to the building.
Yeah.
Turn off the electricity to the building. Turn off the heat and air conditioning to the building. Then you could have an argument of like, okay, they're actively making their lives worse. But saying, oh, we're taking over a building and we forgot to bring snacks. Like they went to REI, they bought, you know how easy this would have been, Josh? They could have bought those meal kits, those like MREs. They could have bought little meal bars.
Yeah.
They literally have the calories you need in a little bar. You can put it right there. You're lost in the wilderness. It has enough energy to last for days. They just didn't bring it. And she's like, well, they're not letting us bring in food and water. And then the reporter says, have they stopped you? No, we're asking for a commitment. Well, have they done anything to suggest they won't? No, we don't know. So it's just funny, but they know what's going to happen. The minute that they leave to bring in food, police are going to sweep in and lock the door, right?
Yeah. And that's they know, right? So bring us our food so we can be badass revolutionaries. By the way, I need it to be vegan. If we can, let's
halal,
make sure that
vegan,
it might be halal, and we only drink sparkling water. So if we get some Perrier, that's kind of what we'd be after.
Yeah. My water sommelier is very clear. I can only have these brands. Please make sure you bring it to us. It has to be spring, no tap water. No, I mean, this is what we're dealing with. This is what we're dealing with. And it shows you just how weak this movement is. Like the Vietnam protest era, those students would never take over a building and then beg to be fed. Right? That was a different era. The sit-ins were sit-ins. When they said, we'll stay here as long as it takes, that's what it actually meant. This is why I laughed when I heard the UT Austin student say, we'll be here as long as we have to be here. No, you won't. You'll be gone in a few days. You'll give up. You will absolutely give up.
You haven't had a cup of coffee from your favorite coffee place, right?
Yeah.
A lot of these people won't have showers. How many people would melt down without a shower?
I don't think the showers are common among this crowd.
Maybe you might be right on that one. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to retract that one. But they certainly do want their soy milk, right? I mean, they do want their vegan, non-dairy food that's handed out there. What kind of an extremist or person who does those sort of things worries about getting fed, right? I mean, when you're a true revolutionary, you're just trying to survive the revolution that you're engaging in. That it's just
you can
survival.
You can live 3 weeks without food. As long as you don't start this emaciated.
Yeah.
Right. That's the thing. You can survive 3 hours without shelter. You can survive 3 days without water. You can survive 3 weeks without food. In an ideal situation. Obviously, if you're in a desert, you're going to get dehydrated faster.
Yeah. But
these are people who just started a hunger strike. And actually, I could use some snacks. Right?
They have no commitment. These are a bunch of just babied, spoiled kids, right? Yeah. That's all this is. And they think their revolution is going to be handed to them. I'm revolting, and you have to bring me everything I want. It's the world that they dealt with mom and dad. They've always had everything delivered to them.
Yeah,
everything. The tents, the food, right? All the things that were in this revolution were in. This is the weakest revolution I think I've ever seen. You know what I mean? I'm just waiting for them to have their some sort of a Boston Tea Party moment where they're throwing the food back, right? It's not going to happen.
Yeah,
spoiled.
Here's some mugshots.
Schools.
Here's some mugshots from University of, I believe, University of Florida. Lots of different colored hair involved in this Florida
I've noticed
one.
that too. Everybody's got unique tattoos. That's a weak ass beard if I've ever seen one. Now I can't grow a mighty ass beard, but that's a weak ass beard. He's got good cheddar in the hair.
I don't know these people. My first impression looking at them, they don't come across as the most bathed among us.
Yeah, not.
I'm sorry if that's mean. When you're coloring your hair, all those colors, I don't know. I'm sure you can do it right, but if they were really into grooming and hygiene, I think they look a little different. I don't know.
So Metro here, which is my alma mater in Colorado, they had a little bit of a protest and it made the news. Max, it's so weak. I mean, this is all weak sauce left and right. They can barely fill up the block behind the Tivoli Center there. This is just only rich kids could afford to do this.
Yeah,
and this resistance was handpicked by Soros groups, right, to bring in those tents for it all. And nothing. It was I think the expectation with this was for the law enforcement to pop off and make something big. That's all it is.
Yeah,
and it fizzles bad. Like, how long did Occupy Wall Street last? About a yearish.
Yeah.
This barely lasted a couple weekends. I mean, there's no real public support for it either. So why do it? Why get all into the hoopla about it and get involved? What's the bigger picture in all this? Because there isn't one. There's no plan. There's no exit strategy on these protests. There's nothing that gets Mom and Meatloaf. Yeah.
Ma, the Meatloaf. Perfect. These are live in your basement kind of people.
Yeah, there it is.
They absolutely are. Josh, imagine going to college. I doubt these people are super wealthy, but they're probably middle class. Their parents probably sacrificed so much for them to go to school.
Yeah.
Imagine being expelled. Graduation week. Still in debt. Well, we don't know if they're going to expel them, but it's not good. You get arrested for breaking into a student building. Not looking good. Imagine spending all that money, $300,000 in debt, for a degree in women's studies. And then you end up not even graduating.
My next question for you is, has anybody actually been expelled yet? Because I heard a lot of the statements from certainly Columbia that said these students could face the threat of expulsion if they don't get out, which was never a commitment to expulsion, right?
Yeah.
I don't think they ever intended to expel them. It's just not going to happen, right? The college doesn't want that look.
No.
Right? They don't want the next group to come in and say, look what you did to us.
It's going to depend on what they did, right? And this is a longer process of disciplinary hearings and appeals. You can't just expel them and say you're done, right? That's going to take more time. But the funny thing is, you have alumni. Well, at least one alumni. This guy posted a video. It's just too funny not to share. Of him burning his worthless degree in solidarity with the movement.
My name is Luz. I graduated from Cal Poly Humboldt in 2019 with a degree in critical race, gender, and sexuality studies.
Critical race, gender, and sexuality studies.
What do you do with that?
Underwater basket weaving. It's whatever.
Today I'm burning my degree in solidarity with the people at encampment in Intifada Hall, and more importantly, the people of Palestine. It's outrageous to see how the university and admin is handling everything. Responding to the people.
That's just a piece of paper.
Yeah. Oh, that's a dirty ass sink. Okay, so first of all, it probably costs between $50 and $100 to have them send another one.
Yeah.
Second of all, guarantee when he applies for a job, he still lists his alma mater. He still lists the degree.
Absolutely.
The real commitment would be to denounce the degree, to never again use it on your CV or on your resume. and to go through life having never graduated from college. That's the real strong move in solidarity. Not saying that degree is going to really go take them places in this world.
Yeah.
The scary part is the best job for that degree is a professor.
Yeah. Because you get back into the echo chamber, right? That's what ends up happening with these weird degrees. Hey, imagine all those students that will be expelled in their senior year, right before graduation day, who don't graduate, who then tell Joe Biden and the Democrats that, hey, of all people who should have their loans forgiven, it should be me.
Yeah, it should be the Intifada.
I sacrificed everything.
It should be the Intifada.
And
absolutely should be the Intifada.
So how long? I give that until the end of the summer when that one shows up, right before the elections, right?
Yeah.
It might come up, might not be too important. It might pop up in some newscast somewhere, but there will be this call for, let's get rid of their student loans because, they suffered.
They suffered.
They really suffered.
So you hear these calls for we want food, we want food, we want food. So you would think that when someone shows up with food, they would celebrate it. That they would celebrate it. Unfortunately, that is not the case. And I want to make sure I get the right university down.
No.
There was a woman allegedly at one of these protests. I don't want to get the wrong university, because I want to give this person tremendous credit. Was it UCLA? No, had to have been Columbia. I'll keep looking for it.
Okay.
There was a protester who reported that, I believe it was a girl, she was allergic to bananas. So what the counter protesters did was they showed up with bananas. And this is the video that's gone viral.
Don't waste your time. Why don't you go back and help your fucking people?
So the pro-Israel counter protesters are just over there just eating bananas, dancing. Now, it's kind of funny, right?
It's hilarious.
It's kind of, now if this girl was to go over and like forcibly shove a banana in the other girl who's allergic's mouth, can't do that.
No.
But having a party with bananas because someone showed up at an encampment with a little asterisk says, please don't bring bananas, it could hurt me, is very funny. The left didn't like this. And my gosh.
What happened? Did people lose it?
This is so effing evil. Commenting on the dancing banana woman. This should be an automatic arrest for attempted murder, and I'm not effing kidding. This should be a criminal offense. It's attempted murder. That's assault.
I'm waiting for the racist, right? The whole banana thing, right? That one's got to be in there somewhere.
So now more. Here's one that was posted. One of our comrades have a severe banana allergy, so Zionists decide to bring bananas. The security have already said not to do this. This person can go into shock. They're just eating bananas, having a good time. The memes that have come out of this, of AI generated bananas. I can't show that one. That one's mean.
No, yeah. Let's be careful with the audience. I mean, we don't want to do too much here.
Well, no, it's just a bunch of pigs wearing keffiyehs running away from a giant banana. It's genuinely funny. Like, you're seeing images like this one. Just Jewish bananas. They're funny. Look them up. People can look them up.
Yeah. Did you imagine being such a hardcore revolutionary? You're going to say things like, don't bring bananas. I'm also lactose intolerant and no nuts.
Yeah.
These kids have no idea what hard is. None of them.
There's a student organizer who is deathly allergic to bananas. Here's the response.
Your audio's gone.
Oh, is it back?
Yeah, you're missing. Or it's my fault. I don't know which one.
There is a student organizer who is deathly allergic to
Check
bananas.
it's me.
Oh
I
no!
can't hear
Did you
you.
lose me?
Oh, but this is hilarious though.
Am I back? Am I back?
Yeah, nobody puts a banana in their tailpipe. Cannonball's hilarious here.
Can you hear?
Ruin a car.
Can you hear me now?
I can't hear you now. Is it me or is it you?
Can you hear me?
No.
People in the comment section, can you hear me? Cannonball, can you hear me? This one, I think I'm coming through. Let me look. Audio. Yeah, no, it's coming through. It's coming through. Student organizer who is deathly allergic to bananas. Here's the response. I go bananas for Israel. Holding up that little sign. Josh, you're going to come back in. I don't know if it's me. It's showing on my end that the audio is coming through. Can you hear me now?
I cannot hear you now.
I'm gonna try leaving and coming back.
Goodness gracious, I mean, how many of these people, these kids, guys, how many of them out there actually had a hard day's work? You know, how many of them actually had to do like paper? You know, how many of you have done paper? Right?
All right, can you hear me now?
Oh my gosh, I can't hear anything. Did we melt down or we get hacked?
I think it's you. I think it's you.
Okay, because that would, because this is one of those topics where people would lose their minds.
Let's see, audio.
It's just crazy.
Let's see.
Did anybody post who they can hear? If you can see us in the comments,
can you hear me
just let
now?
know. Because this is a good one. This makes me laugh.
Can you hear me now?
I can't hear you now. Is it me?
I think it's you.
Hope not, because that would really suck. All right, I'm gonna fix it again. You keep going.
Let me see if I can hear myself on the live stream. It's coming across. So the audio is coming across. You can hear me. Okay. So sorry, Josh is having some weird bits with his technical side of it. Yeah, no, these are really funny videos, funny pictures coming out here from this. I just lost all my Cannonball can hear both of us. So it's really funny. The banana bit is hilarious. Really a lot of funny memes online of the bananas. So check them all out. Very, very funny stuff. There was another video. I'm going to see if I can pull it.
I can hear things.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes.
At one of the protests, someone threw a bag with a bunch of mice in it and had the mice scurrying around in the encampment.
Oh my gosh, if people melt down and freak out, this would be great.
Little white mice. So
who comes up with this idea?
The crazy part of that was that the protesters, the rioters, said that they think that they injected the mice with something. Like, come on, no, that's not what that was. That was a funny little joke of putting a bunch of mice in an encampment. Listen, if you don't want mice in your encampment, maybe don't camp where the mice are or where mice can reasonably be, right? I don't know.
Capacity to put.
I like the ending of this.
Right?
Yes. I like the ending of all of this. And I did like how in California, I think this was at UCLA, what we saw last night was that the police were not doing anything. They weren't clearing the grounds, but we did see counter protesters. They're being branded as vigilantes now, clearing the grounds of the illegal encampment.
No place in this world. Fuck you. Fuck you.
So this is what happens when you have school administrators, police departments who are unwilling to do what they have to do to keep the peace. Yeah. When you're okay with letting angry, violent people basically squat on university grounds, what's going to happen is they're going to come into conflict with other people. And a lot of times the reason that these protests get dispersed is not because the people who are there protesting run the risk of violence. But there's the risk that if they come into contact with other people, there could be a scrum, right? There could be a fight. It's kind of like in the UK. In the UK, soccer hooligans, there are laws dictating where other fans have to sit. So if you're not, if you like one team, you have to sit in that team's section at an away game. You can't just sit amongst the other fans. Now that's a concept to us that's alien, right? If you want to go see your team play, you buy whatever ticket you want, you sit wherever you want. But in the UK, no, you're not allowed to do that. You have your own section. You're not allowed to sit amongst the other team. Why? Because they have a history of fights and brawls breaking out and people getting put in the hospital. Yeah. So can't do it. They also have other weird rules. Like you're not allowed to drink alcohol in the stadium if you can see the pitch, the football soccer pitch. So if you have an eye line to the game, you can't be drinking. You have to be behind a curtain, which is wild. It's wild. So all of the bars in these stadiums are all situated around the corner where you can't actually see the game, and you're not allowed to bring a beer. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's because hooligans show up, right? And then people get in fights. They get the serious fights, like brawls in the streets with groups, which blows my mind because we've never really had that here. I mean, you could maybe football teams. I could see it. If any team doing it, it'd be like Philly fans. Yeah, they're the only ones I could see doing it. But we just don't have that over here. But do you expect that there wouldn't be an anti-group to what's going on to this? Do you not expect that they wouldn't show up and start jumping in?
Of course.
It's like the frying pan man who went and took on all the Antifa a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Dean Frying Pan Man. Like those guys are gonna show up. They're itching, right? They're looking for something because they don't believe in it and they're not afraid of a fight. Yeah. How many of these college students that are protesting are afraid of a fight and they know it? Yeah. And that's gonna happen when you've got those kind of ingredients. And we do. Oh yeah, man.
No, for sure. And you look at Jewish people know their history, and they know how the Holocaust started. It started at the grassroots ground level with Adolf Hitler and his supporters. It was the Munich beer hall putsch. I probably mispronounced that. It was them just trying to take over out of a beer hall. They planned to seize Munich, and it started as this just big rowdy event. And kind of just moved out from there. So when you know your history and you know that you lost family members that you probably would have had a chance to meet had the Holocaust never happened, and you see this, and you see the administration, school administrators, police, mayor, governor of your state going quiet. Joe Biden hasn't said a thing about this.
Not a word.
He's been so quiet. When you see that silence to it, you can't help but wonder what's the next shoe to drop.
Yeah.
Because the slogan among the Jewish people is never again.
Yeah.
Never again. And that's also the slogan among rational, peace-loving, decent people as well. Never again. Never again. Well, what do you do if you run into something that everything in your heart, everything in your knowledge of history tells you, you are starting down that path and people want to do it again? What do you do with that? Do you sit back and just let them do it? Not calling for violence, but you can understand the rationalization of someone who knows history, sees what's in front of them, and can see where that slippery slope leads them, why they would want to, in the absence of any government intervention whatsoever, why they'd want to get involved and put a stop to something like this. Especially when you hear them chanting death to, we see that guy, we just said, you should be lucky I'm not murdering Zionists. They're saying the quiet part out loud.
Who wouldn't want to have to protect themselves, right? I mean, it's going to happen. People just don't want to be destroyed by this again. The Jews know their history, like you said. They know what's the next thing going to happen, and everyone says, "Well, the next step is going to be violence." Well, the violence is already here. It's already happened.
Yeah,
in Israel on 10/7. So the biggest fear is now: does this spread? right?
Yeah.
Is this going to happen again? Is this going to happen every semester school starts? Is every college going to be taken over at the start of fall every year? And if that's the case, people got to start seeing that maybe college isn't the answer anymore. Because really, you're just going into an indoctrinated liberal echo chamber that's anti-Jew, right?
Yeah.
The reevaluation of their entire collegiate system needs to be.
That was the fear that I believe drove the Texas troopers, Texas Rangers, to crack down on Austin immediately. It wasn't what was going on at Austin that warranted it. It was looking around and seeing where the bottom of that slippery slope drops off at, seeing what happens, and say, okay, we're not even gonna entertain this. We're not even gonna think about this. This is done. This is out. No more. And it takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of courage because the narrative on the left is, oh, they had a heavy-handed approach to shutting down a peaceful protest. But you see, when it's all the same organizers, all working together, all the same movement, all chanting the same, be honest, genocidal slogans. We want to push Jews into the sea. You can see where it's going, right? And a lot of props because it's not necessarily popular to send the police in to disperse students like that, especially on graduation week. I wanted to play one video for you. I thought this was funny because as you know, this is graduation week, senior week, lots of parties. I don't remember a lot of my senior week. Once I was done with exams, it was a lot of partying, a lot of drinking. I'm shocked that I made it to my graduation. We almost burned down my unit the night before. Someone turned up the music too loud and the speakers caught fire from putting that much amperage, that much electricity through it. We had a big transformer, like the kind of thing you'd use to run a whole like surround sound setup. Like at the time, you remember how big those are? Those were like, it was
they
like
were full of juice, man.
Yeah, it was as big. It was as big as a carry-on suitcase. And we only had 2 lines running out, just the 2 little, like cheapo little speakers, and they caught fire. And so that was a crazy night. But because of that, and my experience with that, I laughed at this video of someone hearing that there is a party on campus and wanting to go to the Darty, the daytime party.
Apparently there's an absolutely crazy party on the quad today. So you know I had to bring some beers, dog. Here we are. Ratio is absolutely nuts in there. Crazy Darty going on. It's like 5 they thems to 1 dude.
The ratio is typically guys to girls, right?
Yeah.
If you go to a party, there's too many guys, it's a sausage fest, right?
Yeah.
You want a good ratio. But there's like 5 they thems to 1 dude. It's good ratio.
Sadly, the cops broke up yet another rager. Absolute bummer, but I guess we're gonna move on to the next spot. Hell yeah, Fiji? Now you're speaking my language. Where's the pregame at, broskies? Let's go. Good afternoon to the lovely ladies at Kappa Alpha Theta. Sadly, I don't think I'm gonna be able to bring in these beers because of fucking IFC, so I'm gonna donate them to the Fine Brothers.
He's just running around just trying to find the party. Where's the party at? I heard there's a party. I'm surprised you haven't seen more like barbecues. Like barbecues breaking out. That's what I would have done. Like in fairness, what I would have done if it was the pro-Hamas protest, encampment, riot, I would have showed up with my Weber grill and I would have started grilling pork.
Yeah, like
and just let that smell waft, right? Yeah. Oh, culturally insensitive. Yeah, well, you're chanting death to Jews. You're gonna smell right? You're gonna smell a little pork. Not gonna force you to eat it. You're gonna smell it. That's probably how I would have responded with a bunch of beers.
They brought those grills because they knew that some of the students would be like, "So what are they eating over there?" Because we're pretty hungry because they didn't have food or water.
Yeah.
No, that's brilliant. I mean, to show up if you would have showed up in your just throwing pork chops.
And there's one. Let me see if I can find it.
Oh my gosh!
At UT Austin, there was a sunbather in the middle of all of it.
Oh my god! Got to make sure I get my reds, dog, just in case.
Yeah, literally that's what it was. It's like
Che Guevara here.
Let me add the share screen.
Oh my gosh. Could you?
Sunbather. It's in the middle of all of it. Sunbathing on the quad. Police are marching through. This guy get some rays in.
Right.
This guy get a nice base layer.
That way, when they come through and arrest me, I look at my photo, man.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? I should have shaved. Maybe I should have showered. Just a bunch of.
Listen, he's using the quad for what he's supposed to use it for.
Yeah.
Hanging out, reading, getting some sun. And the riot disrupted his ability to enjoy that. So more power to him. And any final words as we wrap this up?
Yeah, I mean, this is what rich kids at college do. This is your next generation of leaders that are going to be working at your companies, at your financial investment institutions, right? You need this to be the future, because if you do nothing about it, there's not just there's going to be more. There's plenty of dark money out there that are willing to just throw out these sort of things until the one that really does pops out.
Yeah.
Miss this one. I miss on this one. The next one.
Yeah. All right, well, that's it for this episode. I think the next episode we're going to try and do a full breakdown on everything that has been uncovered with Judge Eileen Cannon revealing and uncensoring all of the court documents against Trump. A lot of really crazy things going on there, showing just how involved the Biden White House was in the early days of this investigation, what they were afraid of Donald Trump destroying in his records. Spoiler alert, it was the letter that Obama gave him and the map that he drew on with a Sharpie for one of the hurricanes. They demanded it back, and when he didn't give it back, they said he was probably destroying them. Lots of crazy stuff. So we're going to probably try and do a full breakdown of that in the next episode. So tune in for that. That's it for this episode. If you like the show, subscribe, follow, like, comment, share. Check out all the links in the description. Really do appreciate it. Definitely share as we try and grow this show. That's it for this edition of the podcast. My name is Max McGuire.
Josh Hammerling.
Remember, the fight to take back the country is not over yet, but the only way we win is if we all stand up and fight together. See you next time.
See ya.